Hey everybody, welcome to Art 101. And to get started, I want you to look at the painting. Now when I'm looking at this painting right now, I'm looking down here, and I originally had a very light version of it. And that light version, basically what it did was it allowed me to think about where I want to go next. Now that's been a few days. Now why do I wait so long between where I was and where I am now? And plus, why all of a sudden is a lot of that work gone? Okay. Well, sometimes in the stopping part, where I had a very light version of it, you almost feel like if you touch it, you're going to take it too far. Okay, so sometimes you have to say, okay, I just need to be more aggressive, and that actually eliminates all doubts as toward where it needs to go after that. So what I did was, I took Dioxazine Violet, which is this color here, so it looked kind of black. But it's actually a really dark purple. You can replace all your blacks with it, so don't worry about that. The other thing I did was I took a phthalo turquoise, did this. So when I step back, all that work I did underneath now becomes almost psychedelic. You can kind of see it hitting and missing and stuff. But one thing I really enjoy is my tension line I put across here. You still see it coming through there, which is very important because inherently you want to have a tension. Now what I'm going to do is I went really dark. Now I need to do some really light work in order to get that thing to get a little more three-dimension, plus to match up a little bit more with the light reflections on these. Now I want to be very careful though that my tack is protected. Now when I look here, the tack, actually, I'm still thinking about what colors I want to do the tack. Now on this one here, I don't know. I was thinking red, but the background's going to be red. Now I'm back to teal, which I think will be a good one. Teal and phthalo green, which I think will be awesome. Or actually phthalo, and doing the saddle, phthalo turquoise, and using quinacridone nickel gold, which is really a kind of a nice mix. So you can kind of see how everything's kind of mixing together. I got a horse here. He looks pretty cool. And let me see here. You can kind of see the whole thing is just mixing well. It looks really good on camera. In real life, though, it's kind of flat because I don't have it varnished yet. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my titanium white. Like I said, I always go opposites. In fact, actually, let me get some more titanium white because I'm out. Hold on. Okay, everybody. So I always get my titanium white in gallon buckets. I kind of have to. And when it's been sitting, you need to mix this up a little bit. So you want a sacrificial spoon, a sacrificial something that you can stir things up, make sure it's well mixed. Titanium white from Nova Color is a very wonderful color. It's got a lot of whiting in it. Now also, Nova Color is more of a fluid acrylics. It is not a heavy body acrylic, so you got to use it a little bit differently. You work a little thinner, and you're able to get these really nice glazed coatings on here, which are really nice, and you can build up over top. And if you've seen any of my work, you know how vibrant it is, also how three-dimensional it looks. So you're not getting, silly, stupid stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna fill this up. So when you start buying, now, some people when they're looking at what I buy, they're going, oh my God, that's wonderful. Well, they don't realize also when I buy to this extent, I'm painting to that extent. So supplies equal production, production equals, how many paintings do per year. Now this year I've actually done a lot less because of COVID and stuff like that, but I'm also doing other things which I'll talk about maybe in a later video. But right now we're just going to talk about this. Also, any Series 1's paint like this, and I'm just going to leave that in there. It's not going to sink, which is good. And I'll seal that. And just make sure it's sealed. But yeah, a gallon of this is very inexpensive. NovaColorPaints.com. Okay, so just look up Nova Color and you'll be doing just fine. Now, what I'm going to do here is I want to highlight all the light reflections I see on this. So let me show you this so you understand. Okay, so there's my image. Here's my horse. Okay, so you can kind of see what's happening here. Okay, so kind of see this. So you can kind of see it's starting to resemble a little bit the shape and also the form of the horse. So, but I'm one of those artists that always works in reverse. So what I do is I'm not going to, might have to print out another one. I'm always having it in the same place, preferably. But what I'm going to do here is I'm not even going to clean my brush. I'm going to look at my reference. I'm going to say, I've got white here that comes down, which is highlight, but I don't necessarily want to do that because I want to have a light direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up in these areas where I know it's light. I'm going to come into those teal areas, which I want to keep. I'm going to pull it back. Notice I'm not trying to make it solid. Okay, I can come here and do this one, which is kind of amazing since it comes right up to the tack itself. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to come here. So when I look back at the painting, when I step back, I want to make sure that I'm getting this shape. Now, some of these, because the way he is in the painting or in the photograph, this light direction is hitting him because he's bathed completely in light. This has always been a problem with this paint, with this photograph with me. I don't want to hide that. I just want to amplify that light direction. And you'll always see me look at my reference, always more so than you see me look at the work itself. Okay. I'm going to step back, make sure. Anything that's in shadow, I want to make sure that's there. Now notice I'm also not making an exact replica of what I'm seeing. I'm making an impression. So that shadow comes a little bit differently, but I'm making an impression of it to give it the feeling that you're looking at this photograph, not that you're actually looking at the photograph. And notice also I'm holding my brush. My brush is different. Okay, I'm going to come here a little bit, come over top. It's always a back and forth thing. So whenever you're working, you'll work dark, you'll work light, you'll work, you'll just work these areas. So I can come like that because type thing. But you got to remember, you're making a painting, you're not making a photograph. And I got to be very careful right here because there's some tack there that I got to rebuild back in. So by me doing this, I got to put that eye in too. I'm going to be very careful not to eliminate my sketch still. But what I'm doing is I'm adding in dimension to this by creating those lights and darks. Same thing. I'm also not controlling the amount of paint I have in my brush. And notice I went to here to here. I'm kind of working on the nose a little bit. I'm also not worried so much I'm basically just worried about those light areas. I'll go back and forth. I'll add in some orange after this. And you can kind of see what's happening. But again, you still see this tension line. And if I've done my job right, then the tension will actually remain there all the way through, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to come here. And notice how I'm using my brush. I'm actually kind of going back and forth. I'm not trying to give it an even stroke. So I'm going to move this so I can actually get down this legs. And this will be all the work I'm going to do on this. You got to remember that what you're doing is you're creating a painting. You're not creating a photograph. And that's a mistake a lot of people make when they're painting. They think for some reason they got to create a photograph because they trust that more. And when you create a photograph, you're just making a copy of a copy of a copy. Now, creating a photograph isn't a bad thing. It just means what you're doing is you're trusting to the technical aspect and not the artistic aspect. And the artistic aspect says, I want to interpret it through my eyes, not the photograph. So in the case here, you see me, I mean, it's pretty close to the colors what I'm seeing here, but there's a lot of underplaying colors that changes the dynamics of the painting to make it mine rather than a photograph. And that's very important. I'm also not going to leave the saddle alone for the moment too. So I'm going to come back in here, come back up. I'm also going to start, you notice this line here? I'm also going to start squaring some lines off. Because whenever you do a rounded shape, it makes them look fat. Like right now, it looks kind of fat. So I'll be straightening this out a little bit. I'll be squaring this and coming up. That'll make that a lot nicer. Do that. I'm going to come here back and do that. Like there. That's pretty good. I like it, I like it, I like it. I come to the tail. And basically, we'll let just a few strokes. I'm going to come in here. And I'm basically going to put that in there like that. So I'm not going to change anything more on the horse. And there's some areas in here that this area in the shoulder actually goes back like that. So it goes in. I want to protect that a little bit. I don't necessarily want that to be completely worked on. Come here. So you can kind of see now it leaves room for my next color, which obviously I can do two things. Again, I'm going to stop here. That's definitely, yeah, okay. I'm going to stop there, put the lid on my titanium white, and this is what I call my 320 rule. 3 minutes at diesel, 20 minutes back. And what all that is doing is it's giving you time enough to work on the painting without killing it, but also 20 minutes back gives you the time to study it. So we always use the example of you've worked on a painting for 3 hours, you're really proud of yourself, you've done everything you're supposed to, and then next thing you know, you look at it 3 days later and you're going, what the heck was I thinking? Because you've actually screwed it up. You've overworked it, you've mixed the colors, you killed the colors. Another thing you'll see is I do not use a palette. I go straight out of the tube or the tub, right onto the canvas, and I usually use my hands to control the values or how thickness the paint is. On this one I didn't worry so much about it because I'm still in the underpainting stages, and yeah. So in the case here, the 320 rule, I work for 3 minutes. That gives me enough time to work without killing the painting. It gives me enough time to work to cause some damage if I need to, and it causes me enough time to move quickly. And you always want to move quickly with your underpaintings. You do not want to stay on any area and work it all the way through so slowly, because there's no creativity, there's no spontaneity to that, and you can't create a good underpainting some tension. It's got to be quick, fast, and easy, and get it in, get it out, and call it a day. Then what you want to do, 3 minutes, then you also step back. You step back for 20 minutes. Now why 20 minutes more than anything else? 20 minutes stops you from really working on the work anymore. Now, it also, you can study problem areas a lot easier. You can also learn your place of attack when you go next, because it's only 20 minutes. It's not like an hour or 10 hours, whatever. But I also equate this to people's lives. When you're taking my classes, you don't have 3 hours to sit down and do a painting. You don't have even a half an hour. You got about 3 minutes to work on a painting, and then you've got to hit your life. So you put your painting where you can see it as you're going through your life, and then after you're done doing that, I need to work on this. So you work on this a little bit, you do there, walk away. Study it as you're walking by. That's giving you the time to know what works, what doesn't work. Now, when you don't have a 320 rule, what's the easiest way of knowing it's time to walk away? When you sit there and you're sitting down, big mistake, and you start working, go, oh, I think I can do this, or I think I can do that, or I think I can. That is the primal cue to get up, walk away, put the brush in the water, cap on the paint, and say, okay, it's time for me to take a break and study this. It'll cure a lot of problems. It'll stop you from overworking your paint. It'll stop from killing the paint. And it will stop you from basically making a lot of mistakes that you're not going to be happy with. So when we're looking at the horse right now, what we're seeing is still an underpainting stage, but it's starting to solidify. You see the horse coming together. And that's the whole purpose of this. It's not about making a painting. It's not about making a finished painting. It's about stages of painting where you're comfortable with, where when you finally get to that point of doing the finished painting, you've got something, okay? And that's all it means. I don't want you to do paintings that are, you use small brushes in the very beginning, so by the time you get done to it, you've been in it for 600 hours. Now, if you're doing hyperphotorealism, it's pretty imperative you do that. But why? What is it about hyperphotorealism that you like so much? Well, because it's so exacting. Okay, well, that's technical. But I can look at 25 hyperphotorealistic painters and look at them all, and I can't tell who does what. All because they're hyperphotorealistic. In order to do hyperphotorealism, you cannot identify yourself within the painting at all. As an artist, that is my main goal. I want to be identified in my painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put myself in. Well, how do I do that? I do it by color. I'm a colorist. So I go in when I'm working. I'm not gonna sit there and say, oh, I got to get this brown. I'm going to say, what colors make brown? I'm going to put that color, that color, that color over top. And what you're going to find is when you're blending, you have 3 different colors also on a canvas. When you blend on a palette and you blend it thoroughly, you have this happen. It's an opaque, solid color. Now you make your secondary colors: greens, oranges, purples, those. Okay, solid. Okay. Now when you put that on a canvas, it's as dead on the canvas as it is on the palette. Now let's have a second mix. And these are hypotheses until you actually make them into facts. Okay, that's how this works. So my next one is, I'm going to take. Let's do purple. We'll use purple as an example. So I'm going to take red. I'm going to take blue, purple, right? I'm going to put red here, blue here. I'm going to take red, I'm going to take blue and mix it. I'm going to wind up having the same thing happen because I'm going to overmix it, right? Okay, well, I'm going to stop a little bit. So I'm going to say I want a violet red tone. So I'm going to take my blue, I'm going to take my red, and I'm going to slightly mix it in there with that. So I'm starting to get that tone, but the red is still there, the blue is still there. When I look at it from a distance, I've got my reddish purple. Let's make a violet blue shade. Red, blue, and you start mixing the blue in, you start mixing the red and blue until it starts becoming purple, and then you overdo the blue a little bit so you see streaks of blue, streaks of red, but the dominant color in there is blue. You put that on, slightly mix it, leaving the colors mix on the canvas. Now all of a sudden you got a violet blue shade. See how that works? Now see, that's hypothesis, it's theory, it's hyperbole, until you actually put it to work, and then it becomes absolutely valuable. Yeah, there we go, paint. So that's one. Now, the third mix on color is this, and I want you to try this. So you got 3 canvases, 3 different mixes. Quantify, okay, write everything down, why it's supposed to work, why it's valuable. That's quantification onto your work. Now the other one is, okay, critique it. What is good about it, what is bad about it. Not bad just means what the good, what you need to work on in the next painting or the next mix. Okay, so now the third mix, purple, blue, red, blue. You put your red on the canvas, put your blue on the canvas, and you let both colors shine through until you slightly start mixing to that tint you want, but both colors are dynamically moving. That's what we call luscious color. It's fresh color. It's actually original color. It's your color. Because you're mixing it to your eye, but you're not overkilling the paint where you're doing one of these things. You're actually doing one of these things. You're separating it out. Now all of a sudden, you have this. So what do you see happen by my light? You get a reflection here, right? You see that reflection? What do you think happens when you leave areas behind and areas in front? You get a reflection, a bouncing effect of light. And light hits color at different frequencies. So in that case there, whatever person sees, the colors they like, they're going to see first. So if they like blue, that's what they're going to see first because the frequency is going to hit them sooner. If they like red or any color, that's the frequency that's going to hit them. Interesting, right? Yeah. Again, hyperbole, hypothesis, and theory until what? Okay, we got it. Fact. So now what we're going to do is we're going to think about these things as we're looking here. Now, even with that white on there, why do those colors so dynamically work? Why does this green, even though that was one of the first colors I put down, still predominantly through there? Think about what we just talked about. Okay, guys, this has gone on for about 20 minutes, a little too long, but that's okay. If you have any questions, please post them below. I'll tell you about what's going on here later, but this is Art 101, and also why we don't mix our colors on a palette. Even out.